Hi and welcome to another episode of Top Volts, and today we're going to be looking at the Ford Escort Mexico. So this is the C052, first released in 1974 on their 15th edition catalogue. This is running the Johnson 111 motor there, so that's Johnson 111 you could say, and lovely little models, very popular I would say during that period. Especially even in the 80s, actually, these were very popular. There was something I used to look at as a kid, wish I had a few. It wasn't until I got older and was able to afford some that I actually managed to start picking some up. But then that's the same for a lot of us, I would say. But these are some of my favourite models, more so because it's a bit of an icon, this the Ford Mexico, especially in rally and everything else it competed in. But also these models, they are fun to use. They really are. And even though they're quite old models, they still have quite a bit of detail. If you can find these with the rear bumper and, the details, I quite like the worn sort of look. So this car is, well, both cars have definitely been used. There's scratch marks on the tops. This one actually has the spots on the front, where the black one here is missing the rear bumper and the spots on the front, which I will source eventually. But first and foremost, they're both good runners. They run around the track fine. The motors are running well, albeit we're probably going to do a service on the white one today, I would say. And all we'll do is we'll just make sure the brushes are okay, oil the motor, make sure the pinion and the rear gear is working fine, and all the joints and the solder joints are good. The braids, yeah, they could do with changing, so we'll probably change the braids on these. But overall, I really do like these little models, even down to the little driver inside. But they come in a mixed bag of conditions and also a mixed bag of colours and detail, really. But these are the two I've got. So we'll have a look at the white one. So I'll just set the camera up now so we can just get a closer look as I take this car apart. Okay, so let's get into this. So this Mark 1 Escort Mexico. So the body shell, unlike some of the models before this in Scalextric, where you had a series of possible clips that retained the body shell to the chassis, or even a series of screws. This is actually held in literally just by the friction and clips at the back here. So where the number plate would be, for example, on the black one here, you could stick a number plate transfer. So it's held in by there, and also a clip at the front, which is behind the spots. So you don't want to remove the spots because they may have been glued in or soldered in from the back. So just using a plastic edge. You don't want to use metal or your screwdriver because you will scratch this up, because the plastic is quite soft. So plastic on plastic with a nice rounded edge is just the tool to use. So this is just the other end of a scalpel. So then you just gently push. You don't have to push very far, but just gently push that in, and then just give it a wiggle, and that should just pull out just like that. And then it should slide the chassis back. And there you go. So the inside of that body shell does need a bit of a clean. There's quite a bit of hair and sort of gunk in there. So we'll clean that out. The condensers looks good. It's all in place. The rear gear looks good. It's very free. That motor is very free. And even the rear pinion there, the pinion looks in very good condition. I may have changed it out at some point, I can't remember. But the soldered joints, they all look good. One being right on the underside here. This is the one to look out for because it's the one more likely to get damaged. So if your car stops running for any reason instantly, it could potentially be this right there, if it's caught and snagged the cable. There's no real workaround on that, other than keeping your solder joint nice and smooth. And keeping plenty of solder on there to give it a bit of strength. But overall, this all looks very clean in there. Other than the standard sort of hair build up in places, but this isn't actually too bad at all. So the main job to do to this is these front braids, and we'll probably give it a drink of oil in there as well, just to as we're in there, just to give it that routine service. So what we'll do first, we'll remove this front guide, which is held in by a clip on the back here. So with that, and once again, just, you know, you don't have to use anything metal, just something plastic, and just feed that through. And just pinch those together and just push. And then that should just feed through. There you go, perfect. Just take those wires around the side. As you can see, that braid it's on its way. So we'll get rid of that. So in the back here, we've got these pins, which we should just be able to just literally flick out. So they should just come out. So there's one there. And then the other pin there. Perfect. And then we can just simply pull these braids out. They're literally held in by those two pins. We'll just put those to one side. And I've got a couple of new braids here. So we just pass those through the slot. And what I tend to like to do is just literally just bend that over just the front. And that will just hold that braid in there just nice, just like that. And that will just keep that in there while we mess around with the other one. Just bend that over. That's it, like that. So there's our two braids. And now we can push the pins back into place. So just place that pin, and then they should just literally push straight into that slot. As you can see, that was fairly easy. I didn't have to push that much pressure on there at all. And we'll do the same this side. If I try and do it so as you can see. So back into the slot and just give a push. This is where it helps have nails, I suppose. We just pull those braids down. That's it. And then we can just trim those down to size. Okay, brilliant. And then we can trim the excess off there as well. So I'll just get a pair of scissors. Okay, so we'll just trim the excess off. Do that both sides. Okay, that's perfect. And this side. Okay, that is perfect. So we'll just put the guide back in place. So the two cables, they sit around in these two slots, which keep them sort of snug and out the way. Keep that in focus, just there. So feed one side around first, so you're not putting too much strain on the cables. And also these wires, they can be quite brittle, just through time really. You know, they can, you know, they could snap on you, so you just got to be just a little bit careful with them and be just a little bit more delicate, you could say. Just feed those around. And then simply that guide will just push straight back into that slot, into that hole, sorry. And just click through, and then it's held again. And then just feed those wires into those slots and just pull them down clear. Okay, that's great. So that's all back together. So we'll just give the motor a little drink of oil. So just feed it straight onto the spine, or the center shaft, you could say. And just turn that in. and a small amount just where the pinion is, and just allow it to run down onto that center spine. Just run that in and then angle it up just to allow it to run just at the point of friction, really, at either end of the motor, and that's running very free. Okay, so we'll put the body shell back on. Actually, let me just grab a brush and we'll just brush that out. Once again, the old faithful shaving brush. So it's very soft bristles, but it kind of picks the dust up. It's absolutely perfect, doesn't cause any damage. Actually speeds the process up a lot. Okay, so putting the body shell back on, we want to feed into the front slot first, behind the spots. So we just make sure you've got that front guide there, and you just literally feed it in. Get that front slot to sit in there nice. You should feel once it finds its location. Okay, I think that's that. Yep, that's right. So then we just gently bend that in, and then the sides can sometimes pinch, as you can see what I'm experiencing here, and just literally lift the wheel arch a little bit, and then just push that down until it clicks back in. So, and you can see where the number plate would be, it's back into place, and that is all sat back together. So we'll run this motor up, just make sure everything's operating as it should, and that there isn't anything else wrong with the motor or the guides that we've just done. Make sure that I haven't displaced any of the cables, or the wire inside is broken or anything silly like that. So we'll just give this a quick run up. Okay, so we'll run this motor up. We'll start with the volts low and then slowly increase. So we'll just switch this on. So I'm just going to lift the rear wheels off a little bit, and we just come on with the power. So that come on very nicely. It's running very, very smooth. And then we're going to increase the volts. And that's running perfectly. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you found the tips of some use. As always, if you have any comments or tips on this car or other sort of vintage Scalextric cars, please leave a comment in the comment section. I'll try my very best to get back to you. But any information is always great. Any helpful tips to pass on. Keep these old cars going. But I've enjoyed working on this one. Like I said, this is quite a nostalgia one, really. I quite enjoy working on these, and also I enjoy using them as well. I've got a little track that I use with my young daughter, who equally likes to play with these as I do. But it's, you know, it makes a good toy, even though it's a vintage item and as old as I am. But they still work and still bring many hours of joy, really. So like I said, any comments, any guidance or tips on this car, please leave it in the comment section and I'll get back to you. But thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you at the next one.